So mweko na question kwenye alisema Tania, so ndio wakati bado tuingie kwingine. Mako sio kio hivi.
Question yangu iko alisema kama tuta paso yenyewe unafanya kuchimba kinani shimo unapanda mti na kule pembeni inafanya nini inafaa nani ambaye kwa tuko na problem ya kilimo kwa kutana mimi saison ya pluie hakuna nani hakuna mvua sasa tutapata nani mayani yenyewe kufeo iko perte lakini na wakati atupate sasa sijui kama huko fason nyingine yenyewe atakisia tu ndio bora yaze nyesha uzuri season ya nani season ya free kama kwa ile fason nyingine atatusaidia kudumu kule tena nyesha vizuri fulani
Sana sika. Na kusema jina. Au kusema jina.
Tunango
Aser wata. So Tana, here's a question for you. It's called Aser Wantale. So the question is one, and it's just wondering. So you looked at the method of how to restore the dry lands and become as green as we saw it. But now here, our challenge is one. We have a very big challenge with the climate change. And whenever people always expect rain, we don't usually get it. You find even during rain season, rain is not raining. Still the dry season, it's even worse. But now after digging those holes, after waiting for the rain, and you have maybe planted, but you find rain is not raining during its real time. So is there anything like another solution so that these holes that people dig or the seed that you have already planted, so another alternate solution other than just waiting for the rain, which we rarely receive here? Is there another solution? So that's what we wanted to inquire.
That's a great question. Paula, it seems like you want to answer it.
There are many possible answers to that question. But several things that I'll mention. Rain is very much produced by trees. And the more we cut down trees, the more we reduce the rainfall. And that is one of the reasons why the planet is heating up as much as it is. I don't know how much hotter it has gotten in your area, but some parts of the world, the temperature is already 20 degrees higher than it was even a decade ago. So conservation that Bill Omondi mentioned, conservation includes protecting the forests. I'll wait for a translation if you would like. That's one reason, yeah.
Anasema kwanza merci kwa opportunité yanayapata kukua hapa hivi na kuorganize journée. Nasema kufuatana ile question, ma approach ni za mingi, me ya kwanza ukiangalia kwa mfano kila siku bila inakuwa moto. Lakini siku inakuwa moto sana sana cause ni sio kukata miti sana. Ndio kana nafasi kwenye mbuko au nafasi kwenye niche, watu wanakata miti sana. Ndio maana approach kwanza kuangalia kisi ya kuconserve vile vyenye viko kwanza. Msiendelee na kuviharibisha. Sasa vile ile ule Omondi alisema, angalia kwanza kile kwanza kimuko nacho. Muangalie kwanza kisi ya kukilinda. Ndio vile mkiangalia kisi mtanzilia tena. Kwanza ndio nilisema fanya.
Another reason why the plants may not be growing is because animals have been herded in a way that was not good for the soil. It is possible to have enough animals on the land working together, fertilizing the soil, and so that when the rain does come, seeds that are in the ground will grow. Sometimes without even having to be planted. Sometimes the seeds are simply there and they're waiting for the rain. Other things Marius is an agronomist. Tania and I are not. I think in terms of restoring grasslands, that to us coming from the United States, that is large enough for us to call a prairie, the amount of grass that you could see in that picture. Restoring prairies is work that people are trying to do in other parts of the world. I'm not sure, given the conditions where you are, what the best way is to go about doing that. But I do know that proper grazing of animals, preventing trees from being cut down, and growing particular crops that make the soil healthy again. And there is an agronomist who's been working in West Africa, who has found some plants that do an incredible job bringing nutrition back to the soil. And I don't know whether the work of Roland Bunch is something that you have heard about, but his work might be helpful in your area. And he has some case studies that I can send that have to do with work done by indigenous people around the planet that's restoring ecosystems. And one in particular that I was really struck by was being done by the Dogon people in West Africa, and I'm not saying it correctly, but Dogon, who have found a way of introducing trees into landscapes, because trees, not in forests, but just in fields, increase the productivity of what's growing there. And much of that has to do with what Tania was talking about, how to take land that's very dried out and keep the water on that land instead of letting it roll off, which it does, because really when soil gets compacted, it is as hard as concrete. Water can't penetrate. So all of the techniques for getting water to penetrate into the soil will help restore that kind of grassy land. And if that is translatable, or if Ajibona has something to add here, I'm not sure.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Ajibona from Lagos, Nigeria. And right here in Nigeria, myself and my group, we support ecologically friendly initiatives. And ecologically friendly initiatives might include soil conservation and planting trees and doing things right to help the climate. So here we are mostly in the city environment, and we are in an urban environment. So planting trees in structures is quite a challenge, and we are trying to figure out how to add more trees.
If I understood it correctly, he wanted to know how to establish such a thriving, rich sea of grasses growing. And it depends so much on the circumstances. We don't know what particular land he's thinking of, or what that scale of regreening means to your community versus learning how to garden in a way that provides food and is all of the other things that were said.
Yes, I think
Mhm.
well, at least some of the problem is some of the gardens are quite open, and there's not much shade cover or for them, and so the climate change there has done a couple of things. One is that the rains can be heavy, but in the wrong place, you know, compared to what they used to. So the seasonal pattern is, you know, as it has in a lot of part of the world, moved a month maybe, and so there's that bit. Then maybe you're getting a dry period when you don't want it on the crop, and even if it's things like beans or maize or other edible you know, vegetable crops, how to actually adapt to the climate change circumstance, I think was at least in part of his question. And there's certainly a bit of an agroforestry probably angle in there somewhere, but anything else about, well, you know, sometimes it does look like those, to me at least, even in Australia, it does look like those seasons are shifting. Is that really the case? Or is it just unpredictable? It'll be this way one year and that way the next season, sort of thing. So some of these things that come into agriculture, you know, create quite a, I guess, an anxiety as well as to how the food is going to grow.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, well, are the gardens that people have large enough to support a tree in the garden?
Yes, so probably, I think they're ranging from about 600 square meters to a hectare. And I think some places they are doing tree, you know, like fruit tree cropping at least, or growing some fruit trees. Now, I'm going to try and get on the ground there next March, but until I do, it's hard to really get a picture of the layout just from odd photos here and there, you know. So some places look quite like you can see, as far as you can see, it's just garden after garden after garden, and a bit of the lake in the background, and with very little trees. Other places and other villages that I've seen images of have stands of native trees in the background, but like it's like a bank of native trees where there's no gardening, and so I guess there's degrees of how the gardening has been done and how the clearing has been done for that, and then what are some of the newer things that have been brought in, like fruit trees and so as well. And so in some ways it's early stage. Marius has got quite a number of things going in that regard, with nursery trees, etc. There's bananas, as you might have seen in some places, but I think it's probably a bit ad hoc, you might say, how that's going. Yeah.
Marius, I think you're in a better position than I am to answer this question by far. And what I said that was missed is that I guess you heard my plea for protecting forests. What we probably didn't get to was the importance of the value of having trees in areas where you're growing food. As far as creating the kind of grassland that you could see in Tania's slideshow, that really does take some large-scale work, creating places where the water, when it does fall, can be captured. And there are other ways of doing that, but capturing all the rain when it falls, and there, in addition to deep cuts in the ground, what people are also doing is catching the rainwater off of the roofs of buildings, not letting any of it go to waste, having the rainwater that lands on the roof of a building go into a gutter kind of situation where it then feeds into a rain barrel, and that rain barrel fills up very quickly, and it gives you, it's one source of water for continuing to water the plants after the rain has stopped. So capturing the rainwater as it falls is probably going to be essential to doing regreening at any scale. Is that translatable?
Yeah,
Sure
it's
it is.
translatable. So,
And
yeah,
is it,
can I continue?
yes, go ahead.
Yeah, kwa pia tuongeze tena kidogo ya kuonesha kama kwa mfano kama mvula inakatika vile wakati mko pata mvula inakatika nosha panda kwa mfano. Sasa angalia ile wakati mvula ingaki inanyesha. Kuangalia kama utachimba shimo juu ile maji kwa makia. Na kuangalia hii maji ya kumajani. Kuangalia kisa kuconserve. Itakuwa kutia mu kitani, itakuwa kutia mu base. Juu wakati mvula inakatika kuangalia kisa kutosha ile maji ulioka weka wakati mvula iko inanyesha, juu unatumikisha sawa. Sasa mvula inakatika kunyesha.
Okay. And I don't want to underestimate the importance in terms of keeping the planet cool enough so that people and other species can survive. But the heat is a huge problem. And the fact that the water isn't soaking into the ground when it does fall is a big contributing factor. One of the things here in the industrialized world that has caused, as John Liu pointed out, so many problems for everyone is that we have covered over the earth. The earth needs to breathe. It needs to be able to soak in the water. But when you have cities covering very large areas, and when you have so many roads, the water that falls there cannot go into the ground. It does not infiltrate into the soil. And one of the things that we really encourage people to do in the United States is to de-pave, take away the pavement that isn't needed. And what's been amazing when people get together and they de-pave someplace as a community is that as soon as the concrete or the asphalt or whatever it is that's covering the earth is removed, they don't even have to plant seeds. The seeds are already there in the ground, just waiting to be uncovered and to receive water. So the de-paving movement is very important in other parts of the world. I don't know whether that's something that cities in Africa also could consider doing, but yeah, we've created the problem here in the Western world, and we have to step up our part in making it possible for the rain to soak into the ground when it falls. And the other thing that I was saying is that trees actually produce rain, which is why it's so important to protect them. They not only soak up rain when it falls, but then the water that's in the tree goes back up into the sky through the leaves and out into the atmosphere, and it takes heat with it. So not only is the water going back up to be recycled and come down again, but it's also carrying heat away from the soil, away from the earth. So I can't emphasize enough how important the trees are, protecting them and using them in our places where we want to grow food, because the trees themselves actually help to nourish all the growing things around them. They are probably our most important relatives.
So alikuwa naongezea ni kama unakutana kama hapo yuko na shida ya kuwa na industries za mingi, kisha ile ndio create condition ya kutana kama kila siku juu ile mamoshi kwenda na sikile mu atmosfere inakuwa na kamata maji inakuwa sawa vile inabasepare hewa huko chini, haitafika hewa kule, haitafikia hewa kule. Menjoma chikazaka sasa vile mu system ya Amerika hivi hivyo kwa kutana kama wakati wa profite mvule inanyesha vile watu wanajunga fasi moja, wangali si mtachimba kitu fasi ya mkubwa na mnajengea mzuri juu kama maji haingie mzuri mdongo ya kutana kama inabakia tu yule sasa tu kidogo na inaote ina sasa tu kidogo sasa jua tu ya kidogo na inawaka ile maji bakia yule inakauka, lakini sasa mtajikaza maji sasa mvule inakatika maji ile mliweka mnaketa mnilubanisha tena pale na kama maji ilikuwa hapo inashuka tena sana mdongo juu maji kisha kushuka mdongo itabakia msiku za mingi sana. Unajua kama au system yao sasa mwa iko different na system yao hivi. Vita wajua sana sana kuambia watu encourager watu juu ya kupanda miti. Kwa kama miti inasaidia juu ya formation ya mvua. Na tena miti saa mvua inanyesha huko mayani maji zinabakia kwenye mayani yao. Kisha ile maji saa kale kajua kidogo karawaka. Ile maji inevapore inatoka pale kule mayani ya miti inapanda tena mu atmosphere kule vile tena inaanza tena inabakia siku kidogo tena ile kule tena jikonverse tena inakia tena shuka kwa sababu mvula ndio wana hapo na iko sawa vile ni kuambia kila mtu kuangalia kisa kujikaza jema miti najua budongo ile kuangalia kisa kwa conserve ile maji wakati maji ipo unaweza kisa conserve maji wakati maji mvula inanyesha ile maji mconserve juu na kia basi kwa ile makazi wakati hakuna mvula.
So one more example in Niger, they have learned thousands and thousands of farmers now, over millions of acres, have learned a method that they used to use. So it's not that it was brought in by somebody else. This is a traditional method that had been pretty much forgotten. But when a tree has been cut down and there's a tree stump, sometimes a kind of bush grows up around where the tree was. And it turns out that those bushes are actually growing out of the root system of the trees. And if you prune those the right way, you can very quickly get a new tree to come right back where one was cut down. And what the farmers are finding is that when the trees come back, then the crops that they're growing do so much better. I have no idea whether that is a technique that would work well in your area, or whether there are actually tree stumps of the kind that produce new growth. But this is it's a new method of a new old method of rapidly reforesting and at very low cost. It is called farmer managed natural regeneration, FMNR. And it's very important because of how quickly and how inexpensively it brings the trees back. But you know, I don't know how many of you young people might be interested in forest preservation and protection or agroforestry, where you really are growing the trees along with the crops. But or how many of you are really mainly interested in being farmers who can produce enough food to sustain your families and perhaps have enough to sell. But you are, you're incredibly important. It's not only because you are part of a global movement of people all over the planet who are working very hard to restore nature. But the involvement of you young people in ecosystem restoration, which is also climate restoration, is incredibly important. The land that you have available to you to make healthy and growing again is a big part of the solution, not only for yourselves, but for the whole planet. So I think, frankly, I want to tell you how much we value your work and your efforts, and would like to help you in whatever way Biodiversity for a Livable Climate could help you. We're not we're not a wealthy organization. We don't have much money, but what we do have is a lot of people that we know who've been restoring ecosystems all over the planet. And some of them definitely have knowledge that will be helpful to you. And perhaps it will someday be possible for some of you to be interns the way Bill Omondi and Ajibona Tololope have been at Bio for Climate. And
Paula, you might just let Mzili translate a bit of that. I think you've been.
Okay.
It's been quite a bit. I don't know if even if he kept all that in his head, but let's see. I think you might good.
Yeah, kidogo tu alikuwa anaongezea juu ya nini? Nasema kwa wengine system ya mpya ya kama mtu anakata mti. Ukikata mti usikatilie mpaka huko chini. Mako unaiacha vile. Ile mti ulikata, hii mizizi yao huko chini na pale polikata. Juu mizizi mumudonge naenda ingana kukuta maji. Kisha hiki ulikata nayo tena kinali kiko naota. Kisha mizizi nao ya pembeni nao kisha ndaota na kisha nko yengine mti. Unajua kana kama hii mti itatoka, kwa hiki mti kia mtu wake ukishakata. Na hata mti ya nguvu sana kushinda hizi hizo ukishakata kuivia hii moya. Na yengine jo kidogo jao organization wanasema organization yao habibu watajiri sana. Lakini biko jo na watu ba expert mu vitu mbalimbali. Na baza saidia munjia yote ile. Kana lomba watu kama ile connaissance na ile ujuzi wale watu yao au biko nayo. Me banajisikia nao fiere kuona watu au kuona bajene biko nafanya makazi juu ya restauration ya klima. Juu wanajua kama bajene bangana na nguvu, bangana na uwezo, naweza kuwa na ile nia, naweza kuwa na ile nguvu ya kufanya hata kazi nzuri sana kushinda au wanafanya. Lakini aza penda kule mbele tukue sawa vile Omondi, tukue sawa vile au watu wawili ni watu wenye yuko mwele organization yao ya Bio for Climate. Juu kule mbele tukiangalia gisi tukijingiza mwele tungali tunashika kwa profite mwele connaissance yao na ile ujuzi yao. So I'm done, Paula.
Okay, well, I could give you more examples, but I'm not sure. What I'd really like to know is what the youth here would like us to be able to do for them, which unfortunately, as I pointed out, money is not what we have to offer, but we do have a lot of knowledge among not only our staff, but also the many people who we've met over the last 9 years from all over the world. And I guess I'd like to know if there are any other questions or any other thoughts about what you would hope these outsiders from the United States can help with. How can we help?
Nasema alikuwa na nyingine mifano ya mingi yenye angileta mifano mingi alikuwa anapenda aongeze, lakini anachia kwanza pale vile mekesio alikuwa anapenda au alikuwa anapenda jibizi. ni kitu gani ndio tutapenda avo batufanyizie. Mekumbuka alianza na kusema kama organization yao haviko batajiri sana. Somake msaada yote ile mtaka kwa msaada mtaka staff yao ama watu wengine mafunzo kunayo never existence yao organization yao nini ndio tusikia sasa vile tuzapenda tupatusaidie au ndio question ile yenye wapenda mjibie. Yeah, so here is one of the responses. So to him, he thinks such lectures about climate, the conservation, the protection of climate, how best to compare to campaign against climate change are one of the things that we need most from you whenever we have such an occasion to be in contact with you. Also, maybe training the youth and other people about environmental related poems and other things like films, like drama, so that what they are doing can at least be seen and but to be done in a very professional way, just from the experience that you have had for all the years that have been existing.
So I would appreciate it if you would repeat that, because I did not catch all of it.
I repeat?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So to him, he thinks such occasions where we always take a pleasure to meet with you and you have at least a talk with us and on different lectures about environments, the conservation, because the experience that you have is different from the experience that you have. Probably from your experience, we can also learn more. So it should not be the last time, but always keep showing us and guiding us on the proper approach to environments, to agriculture, to respond positively to climate change, and also training the youth or finding some trainers who can at least skill them up with the poems which are related to environment and climate change. Let's be drama, let's be anything that's can be interesting to very interesting to the youth, so that their work at least can be done in a very professional and to be conveyed to people in a very easy way.
Did you say poetry and drama? Did I catch
Poem,
that?
yeah, poetry, drama, and all those.
Well, yes, we'll have to think about that. I have to tell you that African music has been an incredibly important thing in my life. And when we started really hearing your music, your continent's music in the United States, maybe 40 years ago, it has had a huge impact on culture, not only in the United States, but globally. World music is really very much Afro-Cuban music, Afro-Caribbean music, African-American music. It is really a big part now of the culture globally across the world, your music. So if we can bring you drama and poems, thank you for requesting that. I think we'll have to go back and think about what would John.
Hi, yes, I'd just like to tell you that maybe this could be translated. We've been working on a plan where all the camps can work on creator spaces, central kitchens, and cultural stages. The idea is that you need to be able to build houses or repair automobiles or repair machines of all kinds, make your own tools, and recycle things rather than just throw things away and buy new ones. So creator spaces help you do that. And the central kitchens is the least expensive and the most effective way to feed people, because you can work directly with the farmers, bring the food, and everybody in the community can work together to feed everybody, and also to process all of the surplus food. And then you can have stages where you can have music and dance, and you could have a screen to show films, and you can have theater and so on. So this is a plan that we're working on for all of the camps, and it would be an honor and a wonderful thing to do that with you too. So these are the types of ideas that we're using. Maybe that can be translated.
Okay, thank you, John. So alikuwa anasema ule tatizo kwanza, alikuwa anasema juu ya alikuwa anasema sana juu ya nini? Hao wataangalia kitu watavipanga mgeni ili mapoemi na ili ilipo kadi ya lakini tena manini madansi za Afrika ni manyimbo zenye hao baada ya moja tano na zile kwa manyimbo za kujenga hizo ni makini kwa sababu kwa sana kule manyimbo ndio ile idea ya kule ile side ya madansi ya madini sasa shitu kwa za mimi kwa sisi na tuko na ile majuzi kwa madansi iko ya Afrika kisha ni mzee hapa hivi awasema au idea tano yongeza balite mzee na kuanza na idea ya kwanza ni kuangalia kufanya mpiga kila community maki ni Kongo au wanapiga hivi inakuwa kuonyesha baada ya yatima vinyangajiweze banini kuja hapo ili tutasaidia walimaji wapata bea wana makazi wakidia bale bea wakukula wakula ndio idea ya kwanza. Idea ya pili. Idea ya pili ni ya santre. Maji ya kwa santre ya mkubwa tu, mais kwa santre napaswa kuwa busy kila siku. Maji pale vile ndio fasa kuanzia mateatre, kuna kwa televisheni mkubwa ya kwa naonesha vitu fulani. Kama uko na reunion apendo connecter na mtu, unakuwa kia pale kwa internet, kukua kila kitu. Kama kwa mfano competition, kama kwa mnapenda fundisha wengine fast na kia pale kwenye sana. Ndio idea ya pili. Idea ya tatu ni kuangalia kisa tutakuwa na mashamba kwa mademonstration. Maana unapenda uko unajua kisa ya kulima tomati. Una kashamba fulani, maki ni kishamba kwa kulisha tomati na mwaka hivi na hivi. Lenga ni mwaka hivi na hivi. Tomati na hivi na hivi. Kuna kwa ile shamba yuko ya community. Kisha nyingine hii ya kupakabula mambegu. Unapatia mtu mbegu kumsaidia mwana ana ile kipato ya kuuza mbegu. Unapatia mbegu sana anavuna anapata vyake anafikisha mbegu yako na anabakia na vingine. Ndio idea ya ile. Na idea ya mwisho alikuwa anazia juu ya vile makilitile sasa. Juu tunaishi pasi kwenye makilitile vya mingi. Ni kuangalia aenjo mtaleta amani, mtaleta upendo. Na ile upendo akia juu ya kuchangachanga makilitile. Sasa mko nakutana na vile ndio kisilo upendo ni kwenda na ndio ile tano ile kwa napenda baada tualeta mwe makaya wote na sina shida kia pesa inakuwa sawa. So I'm done with that, Mr. John.
Thanks, Mzili. Great. No, I was just wondering earlier, Jabona actually was also making some responses to an earlier question. Would you like to be able to repeat that? I think that stage we also got cut off. If you're there, Jabona.
Sure. I or someone else?
Okay. And if you have another question there.
Anasema kama utakuwa mtu mwingine yuko nyingine kisio, fataka kwanza ni hivi hapa hivi. Ataweza uliza ndio mbele tuendelee vingine. Kama mtu wote ule kuna kisio fatana na hivi wenye hao wanasema hapa hivi. Hakuna? So no questions so far. So people are trying to think them out. Probably later, that's when they are going to ask their respective questions.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Paula, for your responses there. And thank you very much again, Tania, for your presentation. So everyone, we might give them both a round of applause again. Thank you.
Asema tunashukuru wale wote, kazi itakuwa mzuri. Tupigie wale kwanza wanasema makofi kidogo.
And do I take it we may have the dancers back on again?
Sema so kwa tena ingine ka dance muziki.
I think everyone should get up and dance.
Great idea.
Yeah, anasema kwanza ye hapa anasema mbele wale wakicheza shie kwanza na focus na tushimai kwanza shie kwa mtitizi kwanza. So
Okay.
Yes, Mr.
Where's the music, Mzili? Right.
Yeah, so we have some power problem. People
Okay.
are going to connect the generator. So when the power comes on, gets on, we are going to look for the ways of reconnecting and then bring those ones back.
Okay. How long do you think you need?
Well, I'm not sure what the answer to that is, but let me just tell you that there is a film about farmer-led natural regeneration that I posted in the chat, and there are many other films on my YouTube channel that you could show and maybe explain, because they're mainly in English. But there are things like the promise of the commons, or leading with agriculture, or facing drought, drylands, forests keep drylands productive and functional. So many things that you could use. Feel free to use them. And then I think if we can arrange, I was imagining, like, are there houses for rent in near the area where you are? Because if we could arrange for, say, 5 trainers or something like this to come and work with you, and had a house there where they could stay, we could rent, and many of them I think would love to come, so they would maybe volunteer. So if we just cover the actual costs, this would be very useful. And then they could just continuously bring you more information and more ability to assist. And then that would probably encourage more people to come, and maybe we can encourage, we're connected to some universities, maybe some of the universities could come and participate, and then maybe they could identify students among you that would like to follow continuing or advanced education. And also some of the camps, we now have over 50 camps, and there will be 75 to 100 probably by the end of this year in all parts of the world. So theoretically, some people who are able to travel could go to other camps and learn what they're doing. And as that movement grows, then it would share whatever is being learned there. We also have very, very effective collaboration with certain of our partners like the Archangel Ancient Tree Archive and the Soil Food Web School. So they have Tree School and Soil Food Web School. And these could spread these types of training to you.
Na ingine kidogo afano kusikia hapo ungesikia zile programu lakini hapo pia watu mwezi makaza hapo zote hapo kuna manyumba kwa kwa bakisikia kwa nafasi fulani ambapo kuweza dunia sasa bajikue hawapashi kama wasipie sio ni makazi kai kisa kwa sima gisa kwa kama kama nyumba za kuishi nyumba za Tapata wamestay wanakuja wapata maformation wale wanasema wanakuja kwa sababu za kupangisha ya kukula na vitu. Mesa kwapenda saje zoe. Bale ba mingi muwao. Jibe expert wanajua vitu vya mingi. Na sasa takuwa banatoka wanaenda bakina kwenda na kule mzuri. Na atangalia sita tukonektea na ngine university fulani juu sele sawa le mashmaide ma university wana wanakuwa na fika hapo. Sasa kwa mfano huko mwanafunzi hauna gisa kwenda university. Sasa unakia hapa anakiangalia wanafunzi ni wapi kusaidia mtu fulani kuna skill fulani ama ujuzi fulani gisa kumsaidia. Meta kwa mzuri kama tutakuwa tuko na manyumba za kupangisha kwa za mzuri kwa hiyo watu wanakuwa sawa kwa pia watakuwa na kupigwa na fikia. I'm done, please, Mr. John Lee.
Thanks,
You are done?
What?
Okay.
Yes. Are
That
you
was
ready?
yes.
Are you ready, MZ? Are you ready, MZ?
So is your electricity back, or shall we
Continue talking.
So-
Continue talking. Yeah.
I think
The electricity is back.
do you have your musicians or dancers, or what is happening?
No, we are just preparing themselves so that they can come and then they present to us their second dance.
Okay. Well,
I'm sorry to say it's 5 o'clock in the morning for me, and I have to see if I can get a few hours of sleep before I get up and go into some other meetings. So I want to thank you very much for inviting me and Tania and Bio for Climate. And I can't thank you for inviting John Liu, but I am certainly glad that he's here. Yes, very much. And as far as the training that you're looking for, it's the ecosystem restoration camps that can provide that for you. So what Biodiversity for Livable Climate can offer you, besides our support and appreciation, we will work that out. We will work that out. Okay. So thank you.
Thank
Okay.
Thank you, Paula. And and Bill has to go as well. So thank you very much, Bill, for being here.
Okay.
And really your contribution to the conversation has been really fantastic.
Yeah.
And as you can see, I think it's starting to grow and we're putting a bit of flesh on it.